Hi guys, Noel Julian here. Welcome to another episode of Take the Roads Garage. Today I am back working on my Alfa Romeo Spider and I'm about to tick off something that's been on the list basically since I got this car, and that is an oil change. Now I've been a little bit busy, distracted with the Vauxhall Viceroy course, which has taken a bit of time away from the Alfa, but now today I'm going to get cracking, get back working on the car. I have been busy doing some other things with it as well, which is out of shot, and I won't show you today. I'll be showing you that a bit later on in another episode, but basically I've made some changes on the interior and I think it's come up really good. But today it's all about the engine and changing the oil in the Alfa Spider. So I've got everything I need to service the car today. I've got the oil filter and the sun plug washer, which I picked up from Classic Alfa, and I got all the bits and pieces from the car from them. And also I've got some oil, and the really cool thing is I've been sent some oil by Duckhams. Now there's a blast for the past, and it's really cool. I actually remember Duckhams from back in the 80s and the 90s, and I've actually got an old can of Duckhams Q20W-50 Motor Oil. You know, I didn't pick it up at a car boot sale or anything like that, or a classic car fair. It's actually been in my family since I think the 1980s. And my dad bought it to change oil in one of the cars back home. And it's just, you know, it's a can that we've kept lying around just for changing spare oil and waste oil, etc. So it's really cool that I've got this old can of Duckhams motor oil, and Duckhams themselves have sent me some new oil to service this car. So yeah, Duckhams are back and they're making oil for classic cars, and the oil I'm going to be using in this is their Q20W-50 oil, and yeah, I can't wait to try it out in the Alfa. So I've got the car jacked up in the air, I've got some wood behind the wheels, handbrake is on, and I use the jacking points on the front corners of the sills. There's little circle points, which is where you're supposed to jack the car up. I use a bit of wood underneath my jack just to, you know, protect the paint, because you don't want to scuff up the underside too much. And then I've used axle stands underneath the bottom of the spring casings, because that provides a nice anchor point for the axle stands. So got a nice height, so all I need to do now is slide it under the car and undo the sun plug and watch all the black oil gush out. Right, all the oil is drained out of the car. I left it here for about 15-20 minutes, went inside, grabbed a cup of tea and just left the engine just to sit and let the oil just drip out slowly, make sure all of it's gone. So the next step now is to change the oil filter. Now on the S3 Spider, especially my one here, the oil filter is down in that corner, and there is some access down here, down past the battery, but also down near the front, up underneath. Now it's not the easiest place to get into. I do have a oil wrench to try and get in around it to see if it'll work itself loose. Hopefully it hasn't been put on too tight, because obviously these have to be tightened by hand and not with a wrench. So fingers crossed it'll come off nice and easy. Well, the oil filter is off. It took about 10 minutes of fiddling. Didn't skin any knuckles, which is good. But the access, it's a bit tight, I have to say. You know, you've got the battery in the way, you've got the alternator underneath as well. And yeah, it's a bit awkward. I mean, from underneath you think you might be able to get through by the sump, but there's not enough room. You can get your hand in, but you can't get the oil wrench in. So what I ended up doing was basically going down by the battery here. There's enough room to get the wrench on, and took quite a few goes, slipped quite a few times, had to re-tighten it loads of times, but eventually I got enough of a grab on it just to loosen it enough to get my hand on it and then be able to take it off by hand. So it's a relief to get the oil filter off. So the next job now is to put on the new oil filter and of course do the sump plug, because the last thing you want to do is forget about the sump plug and pour all your brand new fresh oil through here and have it come flying out the bottom. Not a good idea. So yeah, let's crack on with the next bits. Hooray, the oil change is all done. Massive relief to have finally got around to changing the oil in my Alfa Spider. It was definitely one of the jobs that I needed to do, and now it's done. And obviously for the record, of course, for the history file, the car has done 130,687 kilometers, which roughly equates to around 81,205 miles. So that's all done now for the digital history file when the oil was changed in this car. And yeah, I mean, overall, it was a bit fiddly doing the oil service on this car. You know, I've done it quicker on others. The oil filter accessibility is definitely not the best, but you know, it's done now, and that's the main thing. And obviously a bit of experience always helps, so when I come to do an oil service on an Alfa Spider again in the future, I know where everything is, so it's definitely going to go a lot quicker. One thing I did have to do after I changed the oil was replace the oil cap on the top of the engine here, because the original one unfortunately had a chip out of the plastic, which bit of a shame. So I've replaced it with another one which I got from Classic Alfa. Unfortunately, the original Oleo Alfa caps aren't being made anymore, so this one says engine oil. Not very Italian, is it? But anyway, it's better to have a new cap on there that doesn't have a chip in it, definitely. So that's it for this episode of Takes the Road's Garage. A massive thank you to Duckhams for sending me their oil. That was really cool, and it was great to be able to use that oil to service my Alfa, and also to have enough oil left over to do my Viceroy as well. So I'll be doing that in a few weeks time, and it'll be interesting to compare actually to see how the oil change and the engine service goes on the Viceroy compared to the Alfa Spider here. But yeah, it's great to see Duckhams back. It's a great name, especially for me growing up in the 80s. I remember Duckhams well, and this can is very cool. It's their collector's edition. I won't be getting rid of this tin, definitely, and all the other ones as well that I've got. The other two, I'm definitely keeping those. They look great with my old can from the 90s. So yeah, thanks again to Duckhams. That was awesome. So that's it for this episode. Don't forget, I'm on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and if you haven't subscribed already to my YouTube channel, please do so. And if you like the films that I'm making and you want to help out with some of the cost of making these films, head on over to my Patreon page and become a patron of Takes the Road. And the next episode of Takes the Road's Garage will focus on the interior of my Alfa, and I'm really excited about that because I've made some really good progress lately. Haven't shown you any of it. None of it's appeared online on Twitter or Facebook either. I've kept it a bit of a secret. But the car is looking fantastic. I've got some more work to do still. It's not quite finished, but I'll be having a big reveal before and after very soon. So stay tuned, and don't forget, just go drive.